The remains of 60-year-old Jeffrey Allen Lash were discovered last Friday, 24th of July 2015, in a parked vehicle on Palisades Drive in the Pacific Palisades. It gets even stranger. When police searched the home of Lash's fiancée, Catherine Nebron, they found at least 1,200 firearms in the premises, which were valued at over $5 million and weighed more than 6.5 tons. Just what was Lash preparing to do with all of this weaponry? Lash was described by people who were close to him as a bit of a loner, weirdo who didn't really interact well with people. But where this story gets really odd is that his fiancée and her employee, Dawn Vadbunker, seem to have been convinced that 60-year-old Lash was in fact a human alien hybrid working undercover on behalf of secret U.S. government agencies. In fact, many of Vadbunker's close associates and even her own mother became concerned by Vadbunker's state of mind, as she was adamant that Lash was indeed some kind of half-alien-like creature, sent here to protect planet Earth. Could it be that Lash had severe mental issues and was so convinced about this whole story that he could make others believe it too? Or could there be something far deeper to all of this intriguing yet creepy story? It's worse than a Twilight Zone movie and we've lived through hell, Laura Vadbunker told KTLA over the phone in reference to the odd case. It was July 4th in a car park in Santa Monica when Lash collapsed in front of fiancée and Vadbunker. Lash apparently had severe breathing issues but refused to be treated by anybody, especially not at a hospital. Both Lash's fiancée and Vadbunker tried helping him, but the 60-year-old died in front of them. Rather than contact the police or the hospital, Nebron and Vadbunker instead loaded Lash's body into the boot of their SUV and parked in the 17,000 block of Palisades Drive and left for Oregon. Nebron told her lawyer she did not contact police about Lash's death because she thought his handlers and the CIA or another intelligence agency would come and pick up his remains. It was not until 2 weeks had passed that an attorney representing Nebron called police and told them about the decaying corpse. Both Nebron and Vadbunker were convinced that Lash worked for some secret agency and felt like they'd done nothing wrong by not contacting the authorities. Dawn Vadbunker's mother reported her missing because the 39-year-old mother of two took off without telling anyone and simply appeared to vanish into the night. As of Thursday morning, Dawn Vadbunker has not returned from Oregon, but instead she did send her mother a letter apologizing for making her family worry for her. Mrs. Vadbunker believes her daughter may be in the throes of a mental breakdown and wants her to come home to her teenage daughters and seek treatment. A lot of the guns appeared new and unused and many of the weapons even had price tags on them. It really does seem like this guy was in preparation for something, but exactly what that something is an entirely different question. There are a lot of expensive guns here, Chief Albanese told the LA Times. And as if the story couldn't get much stranger, Harlan Braun, Nebron's attorney, said police also seized a number of SUVs modified for use on different types of terrains, including an amphibious vehicle, used to go underwater. Apparently, $230,000 in cash was also found stashed away. Shirley Anderson, who was Lash's late father's long-term partner, had told the police that she hadn't heard from Lash for many years, and that the last time she had seen him he had gone strange and distant. Lash's dad was a very successful microbiologist, of which many family members believe that Lash would follow in the same footsteps after enrolling at UCLA in the 1980s to study to be a scientist. However, he dropped out, and not much is known of his life after that. Anderson said it would be very interesting to know what Lash was up to in the time he disappeared from the public eye. He was just a loner, as far as we were concerned, Anderson said. He just became weird because he changed all of a sudden. The family have stated that they knew very little about Lash in his later years and didn't even know that he had got engaged to somebody. It has been acknowledged by family members that Lash had always had a keen interest in weaponry, however they were not aware of his ridiculous amount of guns that he had in his possession. Officers confirmed to the media that they need a few trucks to remove all the guns to a safe location. Commander Andrew Smith confirmed the arsenal included rifles, pistols and shotguns. He told the LA Times, "Our truck couldn't carry it all. We had to go back and make another trip." The cause of his death has not yet been determined, but it is not being treated as homicide. Summary: when I first saw this story running around the internet I didn't pay it an awful lot of attention. It was only when I started seeing this story come up in the mainstream press that I started taking note of these unusual events. First things first, before anybody scoffs at this story, it is important to remember that this story is in fact very true. Mr. Lash was found decomposing in his car, with a hidden large stash of weapons and a fiancé and an employee believing that Mr. Lash was a secret agent alien hybrid, here to defend planet Earth. The only part that may not be true is whether Mr. was actually an alien hybrid. His fiancé certainly believed so. And why was Lash collecting such a huge amount of guns and invested heavily in converting cars into underwater-type vehicles? Could it be that Mr. Lash believed this in his own mind, which therefore made it easier to convince others? Is very hard to say, but both his fiancé and her employee are intelligent individuals, which makes you wonder what has been told, or what has been seen. Aliens are constantly making the headlines nowadays, so it is critically important to keep your eyes and mind open to these types of stories, as anything seems possible nowadays. The police are investigating Lash to see what his background looked like and whether any of his guns had been involved in any crimes at all. But if it was me personally investigating with the mindset I have, I would be looking into Lash's family background. Who knows, perhaps there is some off-gaps in their family background. Who knows, perhaps Lash was some kind of hybrid, here on Earth to help defend the human race and… But sadly we will never know. Even if the police come across some mysteries, they will not share any information on whether there is any truth to this story. Remember, the media are designed to manipulate us all and are heavily governed by the elite. So please keep an open mind on this story. Perhaps they want us to see Lash as a crazy person and… Perhaps this is a way of watering down an important life-changing story, or perhaps this is just the mind of a crazy man. Either way, it will be interesting to know what made Lash believe that he was an alien hybrid secret agent.